The men who had visited Abraham and Sarah set out from the oaks of Mamre, which is up there on the mountains, and they looked down towards Sodom. It means they walked all the way here to the edge of the mountains and looked down into the desert. And Abraham went with them to set them on their way. It's an old custom to let visitors not just go, but accompany them out of the house where they have experienced hospitality. And the Lord said, "Should I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham surely shall become a great and mighty nation. In him all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. For I have recognized him, that he may command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has promised him." Therefore the Lord said, "The outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is immense. Their sin is grave. I will go down to see whether they have really done according to the outcry that has come to me." If you hear that, did you ever think about that the Lord for sure knew what was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah? He knew it. But what he does here is he sets an example for any human judge. Even though he thinks he knows what has happened, it is still his task to go again and check whether it's really true what he had heard or what he thinks he knows about those whom he's going to judge. Now the Lord continues, "And if not, I will know." And the men turned from there and went towards Sodom. And Abram stood still before the Lord. And then Abram approached him and said, we now see that Abram suddenly takes the initiative. He had heard something, and now he approaches God with this information. After all, he knew that Lot, his nephew, was living in Sodom. And Abraham says, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous together with the wicked?" Pay attention now in the following verses as we read them. What is the significance of the righteous? Suppose, Abraham says to the Lord, there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then really sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous perish as the wicked. Far it be that from you, never you shall do that. Should the judge of all the earth not do what is just? The Lord said, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake." Abram answered, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord, even though I am just dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? God said, "I will not destroy the city if I find 45 there." Abram continued to speak to him and said, "Maybe there are only 40. God said, "I will not do it for the sake of 40. Abram said, "Do not be angry, Lord. If I continue to speak, maybe there's only 30. God answered, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." Abram said, "Look, I have undertaken, I have dared to speak to the Lord. Probably there are only 20 to be found there." God said, "I will not destroy the place for the sake of 20 righteous." Abram said, "Be not angry with me, Lord, if I speak once more. Maybe there are only 10. And God said, I will not destroy them if there are 10. And then the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abram. And also Abram returned to his place, the oaks of Mamre up there on the hill. We see here one thing, that Abram is actually the first prophet in the Bible. And God does exactly what he later says in Amos, that he will not do anything without first talking to his prophets about it. And the challenge now is, what does the prophet do with this information he receives from the Lord? What would I have done? Maybe I would have told the Lord, oh Lord, go, they deserved it. But let me look at it, let me be a witness. I mean, somebody will have to write about it. We are normally, as Christians, if I go into churches, very much about knowing what he's got to do without thinking what he wants us to do with the information he gave to us. How was it with Moses, or Samuel, or Jeremiah, or Daniel, or Jesus, or Stephen, or Paul? I can go throughout the whole Bible, into the New Testament. What did they do as prophets if God pronounced judgment? They did not say, yes, your will be done and it's okay. They stood up and they started to talk to God. They started to bargain with God. They contradicted him. And look, I think more and more that this exactly shows whether somebody who claims to be a prophet is a prophet according to the heart of God, or whether he is just somebody who wants to be a spiritual disguised journalist or something like that. If the Lord gives us information, he wants to see whether we are close to his heart. And this means very often that we contradict him into his face, hearing of his plans.